Open any e-commerce app right now. Tell me what you see first. A chaos of flashing discounts, loud live streams, and people screaming for a checkout like it's a life or death emergency. And if you're honest, you already know the uncomfortable truth underneath the noise. The system doesn't need you to be rich, it needs you to be busy. So you keep paying the price of your own illusion. Welcome to the hidden self. Today we're going to dissect the psychological engine behind selling in the modern marketplace, and why so many shop owners, creators, and small brands are slowly being trained to behave like debt collectors for someone else's profit. Not because you're stupid, not because you're lazy, because you're human, and humans are extremely easy to steer when you combine fear, social proof, and artificial urgency. You think you're running a business, but you might be running on autopilot, reacting to numbers the way an injured animal reacts to a trap. You feel urgency, so you act. You act, so you generate data. The platform watches that data turn into momentum, then it sells you the next round of urgency, and you call that growth. Let's go deeper. First, notice what happens the second a live stream starts. The lights flare, the music builds, the presenter performs confidence like a religion, the chat scrolls so fast it looks like community. Every few seconds, someone types, "Chot don chua," and the room erupts with small bursts of validation. Purchase confirmations stack up like trophies. The brain loves patterns. The brain loves momentum. The brain thinks, if this is working, then I am safe. But when the live stream ends, a different reality walks in. Silence, a quieter dashboard, refunds that creep in like mold, orders that come with problems, customer service messages that feel less like support and more like emotional triage. That's the moment many shop owners stop pretending. Their eyes change, the excitement evaporates. What's left is not pride, it's calculation and dread. Because the real problem isn't selling. The real problem is the way the platform teaches you to sell, through discount addiction. You've been trained to believe that demand is created by lowering price, that if sales stall, you must cut again. You do it because you see other people do it. You do it because you fear being invisible, and you do it because you're trying to outrun a feeling you don't name. That feeling is not competition. It's humiliation. It's the terror of being judged as irrelevant. So you keep lowering prices to buy a temporary identity. I'm still alive in the market. You keep sprinting because the alternative is standing still long enough to feel what you actually feel, and what you feel is scary. It feels like you're one wrong move away from being exposed as ordinary. This is why the eyes of Chotdon warriors change after the cameras turn off. During the live stream, they're actors. After the live stream, they become what they've been all along, debt managers. You don't always see it on the ledger at first, but it's there in behavior. It's there in how you negotiate with suppliers. It's there in how you rush packing with shaky attention. It's there in how you accept almost quality because you need the order volume to cover the costs of the last discount war. You start making compromises and calling them temporary adjustments, and then the hidden self does what it always does. It creates a story that makes pain feel purposeful. The story goes like this: I'm doing this to scale. The story goes like this: everyone has to take losses early. The story goes like this: once the brand grows, margins will come back. That story is comforting until you run the math, and the math is cruel. Let's talk about the whirlpool effect. When you cut prices to grab market share, you don't just change your product, you reshape the market's expectations. Customers begin to internalize a new rule. The real value is the discounted price. The normal price becomes a lie in their minds. That sounds like marketing, but it's actually conditioning. You're training people the way you train a lab animal. Repeat an outcome, and the nervous system adapts. So when you try to return to a healthier price, you don't just lose sales, you lose trust. People feel cheated. They call you greedy or fake. They rush to comment, complain, and leave. And some customers who only stayed because of a discount don't hate your product. They hate the shift in your behavior. They hate losing the reward mechanism that made their brain feel like a winner. This is why price changes on platforms aren't just transactions, they're identity crises. A discount isn't only currency, it's a permission slip for the customer to see themselves as smart, sharp, and superior at hunting deals. When you stop discounting, you break the fantasy that they're the protagonist of the bargain story, and your competitor knows this. They don't need to improve quality first, they just need to be louder with the next discount. So you enter the spiral. You cut, they cut, you cut again. Costs don't fall. Actually, costs rise. More orders means more shipping headaches, more customer service load, higher packaging consumption, higher return rates, and return rates are a silent executioner. One return can erase profit from 10 successful orders. Let that sink in. Not emotionally, mechanically. Your platform strategy turns you into a gambler. You're betting your future cash flow on order volume, because volume is the only number that feels powerful in the dashboard. But the dashboard hides the real variables. It hides the unseen costs inside the standard process. It hides the stress cost you pay with your sleep, your marriage, your health, your patience. If you're honest, you know the real reason you keep discounting. It's not only competition, it's not only cash flow, it's that you're scared to look at the possibility that your business might not work under stable pricing. Stable pricing forces you to ask questions you've been avoiding. What is your actual differentiation? What are you offering that deserves a premium? What story do you have that customers would pay for even when they're not being bribed? And that requires thought, it requires confidence, it requires discomfort. Most people prefer pain they can explain, like I'm busy and I'm working hard, rather than pain that asks them to confront their own limitations. So the next level of the trap is this. The platform economy doesn't care about your profit, it cares about your activity. The platform's business model is not let small shops become wealthy, it's let the ecosystem become hot. They measure success in GMV, total transaction value, and in daily active users. Your store is not a partner, it's fuel. Even when you sell at a loss or break even, the platform still collects fees. The payment processing fee still runs. Shipping fees may still run. Packaging partners still get paid. Meanwhile, your ad spend still burns cash like dry wood. Your money transfers into the ecosystem while your margin disappears into smoke. You're doing charity work with your own survival. And the scariest part is, you can't really argue with it. The platform has engineers who can detect patterns, close loopholes, and adjust rules in a way that makes your strategy irrelevant overnight. When you think you found a hack, you probably found a temporary gap. They can patch gaps whenever they want. So why do people still lacklut, still exploit delays, still stretch payment schedules? Because the platform wants more fish in the pond. They want more sellers to generate more buyers and more buyers to feed the data loop. As long as the machine runs, they tolerate some noise. Then, when enough habits are built, they tighten policy and close the net. The net isn't random, it's engineered. It turns startup freedom into platform dependency. You tell yourself, I'll pivot later, but pivoting is harder than you think because your customers live inside the platform's attention system. Your customer list is fragmented, not owned. Your marketing channel is controlled. Your access to your audience is conditional. So you stay. You keep paying. You keep chasing. This is how a new kind of slavery is built. Not chains, algorithms. An algorithm is a modern master that doesn't yell. It rewards you. It gives you dopamine. It gives you numbers that look like progress. It tells you, keep going. You're close. Your next push will work. Your next live stream will hit. Your next batch of ads will finally convert. The hidden self loves this because it feels like forward motion. It feels like you're escaping your old fear, but it's often just a replacement fear. You stop asking, does this business model respect me? You start asking, how do I satisfy the platform today? You become a professional responder to someone else's incentives. You stop building assets, you build dependence, and you don't notice the long-term damage because the machine feeds you short-term validation. Now let's go even deeper. Customer loyalty is a trap when you train people with discounts. You've probably heard the phrase, we have loyal customers. You might even believe it. Maybe some people return repeatedly. Maybe they follow your store, like your posts, and message you. But you need to ask what kind of loyalty it is. Loyalty to your brand or loyalty to your discount behavior? In a world of instant price comparison, loyalty becomes expensive. People can switch in one click. They don't owe you affection. They don't owe you a relationship. The only reason they stay is because staying gives them a feeling. They got a good deal. So your customer base becomes a pack of hunters. Hunters don't romanticize you. They don't care about your late night packing. They don't care about the story behind your product. They care about the number after the dash. When you drop your price, you attract hunters. When you raise your price, you repel them. That's not good or bad. It's predictable. It's behavioral conditioning again. So the uncomfortable truth is this. If your main marketing lever is discount, you've trained your buyers to be addicted to discount. You've created a psychological loop, and you're surprised the loop is sticky? In large markets like the US and Western Europe, big sales seasons have already rewired buying patterns. People wait. They postpone normal purchases until the next event. They anticipate your desperation. When your cash flow tightens, they know you'll loosen. So they wait for your weakest moment. And when you finally cut price, they arrive like vultures with calculators. They don't buy because they trust you. They buy because the timing is favorable for them. Then you're stuck with inventory and margin damage. You can't lower forever, but you also can't stop because your customers have been trained to see real value only in the discount window. That contradiction destroys many small sellers from the inside. So you try to recover margin, you raise price. Suddenly you become the villain. Customers feel lied to because you trained them to associate discount with truth. Your attempt to return to normal pricing feels like betrayal to their nervous system. Their response is predictable. They complain, they threaten refunds, they label you greedy, and they leave. You don't just lose sales, you lose your emotional sanity because your brand identity starts to feel like a performance under interrogation. Now, some people respond by working harder. They take pride in being exhausted. They stay up until 2 in the morning packing. They celebrate long hours as proof of dedication. But that pride is often camouflage. Many business owners use busyness as a smokescreen for lack of cognitive strategy. It's easier to be tired than to be wrong. It's easier to grind than to redesign. It's easier to shout at staff about more volume than to admit that your pricing logic might be irrational. There's a psychological mechanism here that deserves plain language. When you feel uncertain about your competence, your brain seeks control through activity. Activity feels like progress. It feels like you're doing something. But the question is not, are you working? The question is, are you learning? And are you improving the variables that determine profit? If your pricing is wrong and your costs are hiding inside invisible categories, grinding becomes self-harm with a business costume. Imagine you sell a shirt with a profit of 10,000 units, but you spend 20 minutes processing the order. Even if you ignore the cost of your capital and time, the effective hourly wage you're earning for yourself becomes insulting compared to even basic labor markets. So what looks like taking work seriously is actually you paying yourself less than a janitor while telling yourself you're building a dream. That's not sacrifice, that's delusion. And here's the deeper insult. Busyness also damages your relationships. It steals your attention from your family. It erodes your patience. It makes you less empathetic. It makes you more controlling because stress lowers tolerance. So the whole business starts to poison your life, and then you blame the market for being harsh when the real poison is your avoidance of truth. You're avoiding the question, what am I doing wrong in thinking? There's a reason large technology brands don't treat selling like a price war. Look at companies like Apple. Do they work less hard than you? They probably work intensely. But they don't win by competing on discount. They win by building belief systems. They sell position, they sell convenience, they sell identity. They sell an ecosystem where the product is just the entrance. The price becomes a secondary concern because the value is emotional and functional, not only numerical. You can hate them if you want, but you can't deny the behavioral difference. They don't chase volume with cheap tactics. They build differentiation so people stand in line voluntarily. Most small sellers try to imitate the surface, not the mechanism. They copy live stream chaos. They copy banner ads. They copy countdown timers. They copy discount percentages. But they don't copy the deep thing. They don't build a reason for premium, so they end up in a dead-end loop where the only reason is lower price. And lower price is the weakest reason in the world because it dissolves as soon as competitors lower too. Now let's do the cold financial anatomy that most shop owners refuse to do because it destroys their fantasy. When you set a price, you can't just calculate supplier cost plus expected profit equals sale price. That's the fantasy formula people use when they're still pretending the hidden variables don't exist. The real formula includes marketing costs, it includes platform fees, it includes packaging, shipping arrangements, employee labor, depreciation of equipment and systems, return rates, taxes, and finally the profit from the order after all of that. And when you discount, you cut directly into the final variable, the profit on the line that keeps you alive. The other variables are mostly fixed or they even worsen when volume rises. Then add the return rate. In discount campaigns, people buy more impulsively. Their purchase decision becomes emotional instead of rational. They order sizes they don't need. They request refunds they wouldn't consider at full price. They behave like consumers rather than buyers. One refunded order isn't just a loss, it can be a chain reaction. The product returns to you in a damaged state. You spend time relabeling and reconditioning. You pay again in labor and shipping logistics. Eventually you discount it again, because you can't resell at full price without a competitive disadvantage. So you get a feedback loop where returns generate more discounts. Discounts generate more impulsive buyers. Impulsive buyers increase return rates. The loop tightens. At that point, your business becomes a casino with math on the table. The odds are low because you've bet your survival on order volume, and the market conditions can change in a single update. This is why the worst moment isn't when sales are low. The worst moment is when sales are high but profit is disappearing. You feel winning because orders are coming in, but your cash balance is getting poisoned by hidden costs. You mistake operational speed for financial health. Most people only learn this when it's too late. When refunds stack, suppliers demand payment, and the platform increases fees or reduces ad visibility. Suddenly, you discover your business is built on thin air. Now ask yourself a humiliating question. Why does the platform constantly push super discounts? Why are they eager to burn billions in campaigns to persuade sellers to sell cheaper? The answer is structural. The platform wants GMV because GMV is the heartbeat. GMV is user activity and data. It is the ecosystem's heat. If your profit disappears, the platform doesn't care. Your profit is not their product. Your business is a role. You are not the customer. You are not the brand. You are not the partner. You are a fuel source that powers the traffic machine. So it's rational that the system offers you a strategy that keeps you trapped. Discount-driven promotions, live stream performance metrics, and engagement-based advertising optimization. It keeps you busy and predictable. It keeps you reacting instead of building. And that brings us to a personal truth that hurts. If you keep playing the platform's game, you're also protecting your identity as someone who can't win outside of it. Changing the strategy would require you to take risks. It would require you to raise prices or stabilize them. It would require you to redesign your offer. It would require you to accept that some customers will leave, and humans don't like loss, so they choose the short-term numbness of continued grinding. But you can't rise while you keep feeding the machine that keeps you small. So what do you do instead? You don't need a miracle. You need a different mindset and a different value structure. Here are 3 rules that force your hidden self into honesty. Rule 1. Stop subtracting value. Start stacking value. Instead of cutting 10 or 20% off the product price, you add value around the product. You bundle a personalized item. You include a usage guide. You offer an extended warranty. You create a service promise that makes the customer feel cared for, not tricked. Yes, it costs you, but it costs you differently. Discounting cuts profit directly. Value stacking increases perceived value without turning your entire brand into a bargain bin. And the psychological effect matters. People don't only buy outcomes, they buy feelings. They buy the feeling of being smart and being in control. A free warranty extension or personalized care pack triggers a different emotional response than 10% off today only. A discount says, I'm desperate. A value bundle says, I thought about you. Rule 2. Build a brand fortress on ownership, not sand. If all your customers live inside someone else's platform, your business is not yours. It's rented. Use the platform for acquisition if you want, but you must transfer attention to an owned channel. Create a customer list. Build a private community where you communicate directly. Make it easier for customers to come to you without needing the platform's algorithm to grant you visibility. A loyal customer list is more powerful than a flood of random likes. Likes are weather, lists are architecture. If you don't own access to your audience, you are always vulnerable to algorithm changes and fee hikes. And algorithm changes don't ask for your consent. Rule 3. Operate like a financial investor, not like a costume-wearing salesperson. Learn to read the numbers that actually determine survival. Do not run your decisions off live stream excitement. Do not run your decisions off revenue looks good this week. Every campaign must prove profit after all costs are included, including the hidden ones like returns and operational overhead. If it doesn't produce real profit, you stop, even if your dashboard looks impressive. Because in the game you're in, the winner isn't the person with the most orders. The winner is the person who keeps positive cash flow long enough to outlast bad cycles. That's the harsh truth. Survival is not glamour. Survival is math and discipline. Now let me destroy one more comforting lie that people tell themselves. If you keep offering discount-driven growth, you will eventually become the villain in your customer's story. Not because your product got worse, because your pricing behavior taught them to expect you to lie about value. You created a mental contract with your customers. Value equals discount. When you try to break that contract, you become the enemy. So if you want to escape, you can't just raise price and hope. You must rebuild trust through value clarity. You must create reasons to pay that are visible, consistent, and repeated. That means packaging quality, product differentiation, customer service excellence, and a brand narrative people want to belong to. Not just a banner, not just an influencer, a narrative backed by experience. This is why luxury brands don't behave like discount shops. They understand perceived value. They understand that continuous discounting signals weakness. They understand that wait for sales trains customers to treat the brand as temporary. So they do the opposite. They protect the value signal. They make customers experience quality repeatedly so the premium feels earned, not extracted. You don't need to be luxury to use the psychology. You only need to stop training your audience to see you as a liquidation event. Now, here's the darkest honest takeaway. Many small businesses don't die because their products are bad. They die because their pricing strategy slowly removes their ability to survive uncertainty. Uncertainty is inevitable. Costs rise, platforms change, competitors copy, returns happen, inventory blocks happen, life happens. If your business depends on constant discounting, you're building your company like a person who runs forward while forgetting how to breathe. You're moving, but you're not staying alive. So the hidden self question isn't, how do I get more sales? The question is, if tomorrow you doubled your price, would anyone stay? That question is brutal. That question forces you to confront whether your business has real value beyond discount theater. If the answer is no, then you don't have a real business. You have a warehouse waiting for clearance. You have a temporary traffic funnel. You have a temporary emotional rush in exchange for your long-term health. And if you keep pretending, the last stage is saltwater. You know the metaphor already. The final moment when the business doesn't have enough cash flow to keep operating, and the entire system stops. The lights go out, the debt becomes visible, the work hard story collapses into silence. So do not wait for the end to become real. Rise and stand up, but do it intelligently. Turn off the live stream lights. Close the laptop. Stop feeding the algorithm your panic. Then ask yourself the question you've been avoiding because it removes excuses. What am I offering that deserves a stable price? What value am I building that customers can feel even when there is no discount? Where do my customers live when the platform changes? And then act accordingly. Stop competing on desperation. Stop confusing volume with value. Stop measuring your worth by how loud your storefront is. Because the system will always keep screaming discounts. The crowd will always keep sprinting toward the next deal like moths toward fire. They will always seek the temporary relief of bargain emotion. But you are not required to survive by burning yourself down. You can choose a different game. Not the game where you beg for attention with cheap tactics. The game where you build a brand, own access to your audience, price with confidence, and protect your profit structure like it's oxygen. Because profit isn't greed. Profit is the proof that your value model works. And cash flow is the proof that you're still free. So go back to your business tonight. Take a real look at your margins. Take a real look at your return rate. Take a real look at the hidden costs. Then make one decision that your fear has been blocking. Increase value. Raise price carefully and clearly. Stop using discount as your personality. If you do that, the next time you turn on a live stream, it won't be a funeral performance. It will be an invitation. And that invitation will